What's going on, y'all? It's Jason Moore Reviews here, back at it again, this time with a full breakdown of the UM5 bracket. I have done a prediction video on the first round when they first announced the matchups, the drawings, but this video is going to go over fully who I have advancing through, now that the bracket's released, who I have advancing to each round, who I have winning the tournament, and in here, I'll give my opinion, but I'll also tell you all the battles that I think are just a sure thing to happen, who's a betting favorite, give you some dark horses, and just give a more detailed breakdown than I did in the predictions overall for the same tournament, as well as address a change that happened, obviously, free twerk, hope he's all good, but with Niddy coming in to take his spot. So without further ado, let's just start from the top. So just to go over real quick, obviously I did a full prediction video on the first round matchups. I'll have that somewhere probably more towards the end of the video for those of you that want to check that out. But to summarize, what's in there real quick for those that are just here for the overall bracket breakdown, I do have Geechee beating Truffaut. I feel like it's just a bit of a mismatch. I know that there's a little bit of talk around it, but I think that's more people overthinking it, trying to have some fun. It is a tournament setting. Anyone can win on any given day, but I do have Geechee going in the next round, and I will have him facing Nun. I have Nun winning the rematch versus Sheed. Back-to-back rematches is tough to get the fresh material. I think Nun's a little more seasoned and experienced, and honestly, that is the main element that's going to edge him here for me. I think Sheed is very creative, but due to his UM4 run, I did see the more as the rounds went on, especially in the Truffaut battle. It just looks like, I don't blame him. It's hard to keep writing fresh, good material for 2-week increments, but I felt like it kind of showed, the limit, not the limit on what he can do creatively in battle rap, but on a 2-week, I just didn't see improvement as opposed to Nun's tournament run. We all know that he was a great dark horse in the UM2 run, so then I have JC versus O-Red. I have JC pretty clearly beating O-Red. O-Red's just level of performance recently isn't enough for me to have him over JC. I view JC as a powerhouse in this setting, especially on short prep. I know I can count on him. Head Ice versus Shuni. I have Shuni winning. Definitely one of the weirder, more obscure matchups here, but I just think Shuni's been on a roll recently. Ice has very long-winded rounds, and for him to shorten that into 230, not having a punch-heavy style, I just see Shuni coming on top there. Then we have Sick versus Stumbles. I have Sick, not much more to say about that. I have Prestavia beating Fonz. That is a big one for me. My original video, I went with Fonz. It's really a complete and utter toss-up. I think this battle has classic potential. It's almost like picking blind, but I think Prestavia has somewhat of like a shock-ish factor on her side that even though we all know how great she is, to see her in a UM setting and some of those first bombs, I think her first round is going to be insane. I just think that she's an all-time special battler coming up for the women as well as Fonz is for the men. So if I had to pick them, I just got a feeling about Prestavia with this one. I have Swamp beating Suge. Definitely one of the better, I think, matchups here, but I just like the way that Swamp's been heading recently. I think he's a little more creative. I know Suge's a big performer. I know this is on more of a stage, but I think Swamp's going in the right direction. This is kind of a plate that if he got outside of the tournament, it would be a real earned and big look for him, and I think he's going to treat it as such. And then Niddy replacing Twerk, with Twerk having to go do a bid. Doesn't really change my prediction here, though. If anything, it's more confident. I have Niddy going past real name Brandon. Just an unfortunate drawing for real name Brandon, to be honest with you. Now that I have, the summarizing the first round out of the way, we can get into, the further rounds of the bracket. And I should have the chart popping up somewhere around here, I think. But with all that being said, you're seeing my chart now. And we're just going to get right into it. So the first matchup I want to discuss is Geechee versus Nun, because I think it's the one most people will understand. I just think that Geechee, he's lucked up into one of the easier, runs of the bracket. Not that Nun is to be taken lightly at all, but Geechee Gotti is just a tough opponent who you would hope would run into a road of the toughest opponents. But, after Truffaut, he's got Nun, and I just have Geechee winning this. I just think in so many categories is better. I think Nun can write a little better, but 2 weeks prep coming off of the rematch, which I know is going to stress him. He's already, I think, said this could be one of his hardest battles to write for. I just don't see him overcoming. So I do have Geechee going to the semis fairly easily. And then for JC, another favorite and powerhouse in the tournament, I do have JC beating Shuni. Shuni's punching. Shuni's been great. I mean, Shuni's definitely been on a roll recently. I have her as number 2 right now. And for Wody, she's been great, but I do have JC beating her. I just think the pen is too much. And with more of a crowd, JC's crowd control is extremely underrated. He's a fantastic big stage battler. So, leading into the semis on the left side, I do have Geechee Gotti versus JC in a rematch. And then on the right side is Sick versus Prestavia. I think most people will have Fonz advancing over Prestavia, so that might be the change. That might be the craziest pick, I'd say, in my bracket. But, for the reasons I gave before, it really is a toss-up, but I really just do have a feeling about Prestavia. I think that Fonz might... They both punch so explosively. I think Fonz has had a few more opportunities to be a little bit more consistent with it. Maybe beats her on veteranship, but I think that she can come in there and do something special. But versus Sick, I think she'll be tired and out. I think 2 weeks, is tough to go from Fonz to Sick. 2 of the best battlers out of one of the best classes. And it's not it's a UM class, but, PG-esque, new guy classes. That's a tall order. And I think that Sick in the 2-minute and 30 rounds is really going to be fantastic. I think his material, rapping very quick and flow patterns, is kind of tailor-made for this situation. It's a big reason that I'm expecting a lot from him in this tournament, and I do have him beating Prestavia. While Prestavia can get bombs, I think that Sick is able to punch within every bar. And then when you look at how fast he raps, if he's able to perform at his peak like I think he will, I think he's going to be a problem. So I do have him beating Prestavia and going to the semifinals, meaning that then to go up against him in the semifinals, I do have Niddy, very similar to the Geechee scenario. For just 2 guys of this level, it's somewhat, they've lucked out with easy pass, and I think Swamp's a good battler, but Niddy is Niddy. If he's able to change just the level of writing, the quality of shit that he's able to say compared to the quality of shit Swamp will be able to say. Swamp's got some performance things, got some personality, but I just have seen nothing that will tell me he can outshine Niddy in this situation. Leaving my semifinals as Geechee versus JC, which is a rematch, and then Sick versus Niddy. And then to cover the semifinals, the conference finals, the UM tournament, I have Geechee versus JC, and I think this is where people might look at me a little bit crazy. I do have JC beating Geechee. I think the safest bet here, and it wouldn't shock me at all if the finals were to look like Geechee versus Niddy. If that was to happen again, them split the money, it's a testament to how great they are. We're talking 2 very, very, top 10 all time and not 10, 9, or 8, battlers, 2 of the best battlers of all time. Still in the mix of their prime, and have already done this in the tournament before, so I wouldn't be shocked. But I think JC is the stiffest competition that either of them could end up facing. JC, we all know how often he's able to battle. With having more of a room, I just think JC is going to be able to tailor-make his material for the bigger room, pace himself a lot better. I think there will be less of him gassing his own bars, which is something that I have heavily critiqued him for. I know a lot of you have too. But you really, really can't afford that in a big room. He showed that. If you look at the track record of JC's last big stage battles, for the most part, he really does great. Your O-Reds, your Shugs, even a while ago, but SM7 versus Iron Solomon, JC versus DNA. I could go on and on with his most recent big stage bouts. I think he's extremely underrated on that stage. If it's 500 or more people, not that plays in it. I know Geechee's a great big stage battler in his own right. But JC has been due for another special run at these special plates. I think that this is a perfect opportunity and fits JC's skill set to get up here and make some noise for himself. We all know he doesn't promo that much, so his way of getting big battles and building his brand is simply being great at what he does, being great in the ring. And I think right here on the rematch, I had Geechee winning the first match. I think kind of comfortably too. I believe it was the second and the third that I had him winning. And then in the rematch, I just think JC's pen is a little more creative. Geechee's changed since then. Maybe he'll angle around, find something to use on JC, disrespect him for battling on littler leagues. But I think JC's just going to come in with incredible shit. I'm rocking with JC making it to the finals here. And then on the other side, Sick versus Niddy. Sick is very good, but a big critique of Sick recently is he able to reach those levels with other top tiers? A couple battles I actually have him edging. I'm not as big on the consensus that has him losing like his last 3 or 4 just straight clear. I have him losing some of them. Had him losing clear to Av. He lost to JC. I had him edging DNA and Pat. I think they're debatable battles, but I understand why people have him losing those. And here, I just don't see him beating Niddy. I think Sick's biggest issue is still adapting to bigger stages, 500 plus people, finding that happy space. Like I said, I think versus Priss, it's going to work. I think versus Stumbles, it's going to work. But versus Niddy, especially in short rounds, you don't have the benefit of going against opponents who might take longer to build up. You have someone that can punch line for you and writes better. I think Niddy writes actual content and references that people are just going to relate to more, that people find better. And in the end, while both of them are going to be going bar for bar, I just think Niddy's going to be hitting his a little bit harder, which is why I got Niddy versus JC in the final for UM5. And JC versus Niddy, another rematch for UM5. This is my final prediction. It's tough. It's so tough predicting UM. I'm predicting a matchup that might not even be possible after the first round. One of these two gets knocked out, somehow. JC's versus an O-Red, so it definitely is possible with a top-tier level opponent. But if one of them gets knocked out, this could bust my whole bracket up. It's such a hard thing to predict, and I think I took some picks here that most people really wouldn't expect. But I'm trying to account for the fact that it's a tourney, not always the favorites make it. I think for UM3 that was the case, but when it comes to UM5, it looks like there is some more stiff competition with like the JCs, the Fawns, the Prisses that really have a threat to knock off Geechee or Niddy. But going for this matchup, who I would think would win if this is my final, battle of these pen heavy battlers again, I do have Niddy winning UM5 if this is the final battle. Now, obviously, from the first match, JC won clearly. One of the few clear losses of Niddy's career, especially on URL, and one of the more dominant. While the material was close, I know that there's people that say, it's actually debatable on cam. I think the material is debatable, but that's not really what a battle's about fully. Is material the most important? Yes. So you could say their pens are close. I mean, in that battle, it was definitely close, but Niddy lost confidence. How many times he said, my bad, guys, my bad this during his performance. Kind of just got in his own head about it. That was SM6. That was a long time ago. And Niddy has come a very, very, very long way in terms of what he can do on the big stage, performance, delivery, pacing. Some people give him a similar critique or have of the gassing his own bars. I think it did get pretty rough for a second there. Versus the Next and Hollows, even though I have him winning those battles myself, I do think that you can see the what and all that a little bit too much, and I think he is dialing back from that. I don't know. I haven't seen the Danny Myers footage yet. I heard that rematch is also might be a classic, so I'll have a review out for that whenever that drops. But that and the Nun battle, it is more just rapid back-to-back Niddy, even going back to the Luke Castro battle at the end of last year. In terms of this battle, though, I think Niddy's a little bit more aggressive, while JC has the methodical pace. They're both almost equal in writing, I'd say, equal in a lot of their strong aspects. But I just think that Niddy is in the zone with tournaments, particularly with rematches too. He tends to come up with extremely original content somehow twice. JC is a very flippable name. There will be a lot of name flips in this battle regardless. And Niddy, I've heard from many of battlers, you can watch interviews, it's actually hard to come up with material because he doesn't have much other character to break down. Niddy's not talking all that much shit in a bunch of angles. And it's Niddy, it's not that flippable of a name. So and that's a big reason why he's able to look so dominant in a lot of these rematches. Do I think he'll be just as dominant versus JC? No, especially if JC's able to make it here. Both of these guys will be on a war path, and I expect a good battle. But if I had to put my money on someone who the judges will take, I've seen Niddy come to UM3 and be a co-winner at the end. And, barring that wouldn't happen, even though I know these two are both EFB brothers, I just think when it comes to the combination of the rapid punching and the performance, just how quick he's able to get off such good material, he's going to be able to go a little faster than JC, and that is why I have Niddy winning UM5. And that'll be my full UM5 predictions, guys. It's a lot to explain, so many matchups to go over here. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I expect to be wrong about if not one take, maybe a few here. But I like my predictions. I'm pretty confident. When it comes into a tournament setting, it's not just about the best battler. There's certain stylistic matchups that I think in a tournament can go into a guy's favor. Big reason why I have Sick going so far, how many words and how much material he's able to get off in such a short amount of time already. I think that plays in his favor in a tournament like this. Kind of the same concept, but to a higher degree with Niddy. Geechee's proven. Wouldn't be surprised to see Geechee in the final. Wouldn't be surprised to see Niddy and Fonz break through. So many different things that can happen. But like I said, these are my reasons for my picks. You guys let me know what you think. Do you think I'm way far off? What are your picks? How do they compare to mine? Let me know. We got UM5 this weekend, guys. I'm really excited. I will be having recaps of the first round. And anything that changes, I will be re-predicting, if the bracket's fucked up. And I'll have constant UM5 content, videos, breakdowns, all that coming. So keep a lookout. And, yeah, man, it's been J Smo Reviews again. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.